Okay, go to Create New. Go to my recommendation is print. Do letter size 8.5 by 11. Then you can change the resolution if you need to. Hit Create. You want the rectangle and shapes tools, so click and hold and then come over to the tear off, and then you can tear that off and bring that over here. The other thing is, if you want the displays at the top, you go to Window, Workspace, and Essentials Classic. It kicks that off, so I got to tear that off again. So that again was Window, Workspace, Essentials Classic if you want this controls up here at the top menu. I'm going to tear the line off. I'm going to tear off the white arrow tool and the pen tool. And this gets us started being able to make shapes and all sorts of cool things. So if I go to the square tool, click and drag that over. If I want to fill that in with a color, I go up here and pick my fill color. If I want to change the color of the stroke, I can go here, change the color of the stroke, change the width of the stroke right here. The black arrow tool allows me to move the shape around. Also allows me to scale and stretch it and to rotate. So scaling, rotating, and moving with the black arrow tool. The white arrow tool allows me to come into these points here called anchor points and move them and skew them around. If I want to add anchor points along this here, this line's called a path. If I want to add anchor points, I go to the pen tool. I add those anchor points and go to the white arrow tool and then modify those points. If I want to get rid of an anchor point, go to the minus pen tool and delete the anchor point, and that gets you started in being able to modify shapes. If I want to round this instead of having such a sharp edge, I can go here to this convert anchor point. If I click and I drag that, now I can round that off with these handlebars. If I go to the white arrow tool, I can click this bar and then modify that further or modify the point further. Now if I grab the star tool, you'll see there's no triangle up here, so if I want a triangle, I have to make it with the star. So if I click and drag the star, if I hold the up arrow, I can add points to the star. The down arrow removes points and makes a triangle. I'm going to change that color here. Change that width here, just to play around and see what I can do. And now I can go here and modify that shape if I want to. Go to this, modify the anchor point and curve it, and I can start having all sorts of fun. Now I'm going to make one more thing. Make another star here, add a bunch of points to it. And there you go. Pick that green color, let's say. Now the question you might be, and I'm going to go to my black arrow tool, resize this. If I hold the shift key down, I can change that proportionally. Again, by holding the shift key, changes it proportionally. If I let go of the shift, it skews it. Command Z to undo that, or edit and undo, or Command or Control Z. Just Control Z on the PC, so undo. If I want to move this shape behind this shape, I right click and then I go Arrange and I can send backward. And that's how I can shift things around, by arranging them. If I want to move these all together instead of separately, I can hold down the shift key and select all of them, or I can drag this marquee and select all of them. The main thing is to select all the shapes, right click, and group. And now I can move those around as one group. If I want to release the group, I right click and ungroup. So right clicking is your friend. If I go here, right click, I can arrange, I can send backward and push and pull things. If I want to group objects together, shift select them, control click or right click, and group those things together. The other thing you might want to start having fun with is gradients. So you can throw on different gradients. And the other thing about Illustrator is it gives you libraries, swatch libraries to go with, so you don't have to think too hard about color arrangements. Down in here you can see all sorts of things that they've organized them in. Scientific, analogous, foods. Let's go to foods. Let's look at what ice cream is. And look, they made an ice cream thing here. So if I go to the stroke, I can change the stroke. And I can change my ice cream thing if I want. The other cool thing under here is you've got straight swatches, but you also have gradients. Let's try some metal gradients, and then you can throw. Okay, that's a good thing. You have to be clicked on the object to change it, and you've got all access to a bunch of gradients. In the next lesson, we'll go over how to actually change and play around with gradients and different things. But that gets you started on making your fun with